March 12, 1983. Patterson Farm Auction, Hamilton County, Iowa. Cold morning, 42 degrees, wind cutting through coats. The auctioneer stood on the platform looking at the crowd. 200 farmers showed up. Estate sale. Old man Patterson died in January. No heirs wanted the farm. Everything had to go. Next up, Lot 47. 1948 Farmall M. Runs, but needs work. Let's start bidding at 2,000. Silence. Nobody moved. All right, 1,500 to get us started. More silence. Farmers looked at their boots, shuffled feet. Nobody wanted it. The tractor sat there, 35 years old, paint faded to pale pink, rust eating through fenders, one tire almost flat, exhaust stack bent, seat torn. It looked like junk. Come on, folks, it runs $1,000? One farmer laughed. That thing's not worth hauling away. It's scrap. Another said, I wouldn't take it for free. Cost more to fix than it's worth. The auctioneer sighed. 800? A young man in the back raised his hand. 500. Everyone turned to look. Kid was maybe 23, wore work clothes, but they looked new. Face too clean, hands too smooth. City kid playing farmer. The auctioneer perked up. We got 500. Do I hear 6? Silence. 500 going once, twice. Sold to the young man in back for $500. Farmers snickered. One said loud enough for everyone to hear, Fool just bought a $500 pile of junk. Another laughed. Kid doesn't know a tractor from a lawnmower. The young man walked forward. Paid cash. $500. Got the title. Farmers watched him hook the Farmall to his truck and tow it away, shook their heads. City kids think farming's easy. He'll learn. The young man was named Michael Chen, 23 years old. Born in Des Moines, parents owned a restaurant. Michael went to Iowa State, studied agricultural business, graduated 1982. Wanted to farm but had no land and little money. He had $12,000 saved from working through college. That was his entire capital, $12,000 to start a farming operation in the middle of the worst farm crisis since the Depression. Everyone told him he was crazy. Farms are failing everywhere. Banks are foreclosing. This is the worst time to start farming. Michael saw it differently. Crisis means opportunity. Farmers need help they can't afford. I can provide services cheaper than owning equipment. There's a market. His plan was simple. Buy old equipment cheap. Fix it himself. Offer custom farming services to small farmers who couldn't afford their own equipment. Charge reasonable rates. Build a customer base. The Farmall was his first purchase. $500 for a 35-year-old tractor everyone rejected. Michael towed it to the small acreage he was renting. 2 acres. Barely enough for a workshop. His landlord saw the tractor. You paid money for that. 500. You got robbed. That's worth maybe 200 as scrap metal. Michael smiled. We'll see. He spent 2 weeks evaluating the Farmall. Engine had compression, transmission shifted, hydraulics worked, electricals were dead but fixable, cosmetically ugly but mechanically solid. Michael made a list. Replace all fluids, $40. New battery, $65. Rewire electrical system, $35 worth of wire and connectors. New spark plugs, $12. Carburetor rebuild kit, $28. 2 new tires, $160. Seat cover, $18. Paint and primer, $80. Total parts, $438. Labor, Michael would do it himself. Total investment, 500 purchase plus 438 parts equals $938. Michael worked nights and weekends, had a day job at the feed mill making $6 per hour to pay bills, worked on the Farmall every spare moment, drained all fluids, changed oil, hydraulic fluid, transmission fluid, cleaned fuel tank, rebuilt carburetor, installed new battery, rewired entire electrical system following a manual from the library, got it running. Engine fired up smooth, purred like it was new. Transmission shifted clean through all gears. Hydraulics lifted implements smoothly. Mechanically, the tractor was perfect. Then Michael did something unexpected. Instead of painting it, he left it ugly. Kept the faded pink paint, kept the surface rust, kept the dented fenders, made it mechanically perfect but cosmetically rough. His reasoning: if it looks too nice, people think it's expensive. If it looks rough but runs perfect, they think it's a bargain. By May, the Farmall was ready. Michael put an ad in the local paper: custom farming services, ploughing, disking, planting, affordable rates. Call Mike. First call came from a widow named Helen Morris. Her husband died in '82. She had 80 acres she rented to a neighbor, but the neighbor was struggling and couldn't farm it this year. I need it planted, or I lose the rent income, but I can't afford to hire the big operators. They want $3,000 to plant 80 acres. I don't have it. Michael drove out in his rusty pickup towing the ugly Farmall. Helen looked disappointed. That's your equipment? Yes, ma'am, looks rough but runs perfect. I can plant your 80 acres for $1,200. That's $15 per acre. Big operators charge $37.50. Can that old tractor actually do it? Yes, ma'am. I guarantee it. If you're not satisfied, you don't pay. Helen agreed. Michael spent 4 days planting her 80 acres. The Farmall ran flawlessly, never missed a beat, planted straight rows at perfect depth and spacing. Helen was amazed. I expected problems, but you did it perfectly. Michael handed her the bill, $1,200. She paid by check. Young man, you just saved me $1,800. I'll tell everyone I know. She did. Word spread. Widow Morris hired the kid with the ugly old Farmall, and he did great work cheap. Second call, farmer named Robert Williams, small operation. 240 acres, couldn't afford to buy planter. Can you plant for me? Michael calculated. 240 acres times 15 per acre equals 3,600. 3,600 I can start Monday. Williams agreed. Michael planted it in 8 days. Farmall ran perfectly. Williams paid, told his neighbors. By end of May, Michael had planted 680 acres for various small farmers. Revenue, $10,200. Expenses, fuel and maintenance, about $1,200. Net profit, $8,400 in 1 month. The farmers who'd laughed at the auction heard about it. The kid with the junk Farmall is making money doing custom work. June brought cultivation jobs. Farmers needed weeds controlled, but couldn't afford to buy cultivators. Michael bought a used cultivator at auction for $300. Fixed it. Offered cultivation services. Charged $10 per acre. Cultivated 1,200 acres in June. Revenue, $12,000. Expenses, $1,800. Profit, $10,200. July, more cultivation. Some hay mowing. Revenue, $14,000. Profit, $11,000. August and September combining. Michael found a used 1966 John Deere combine at auction. Nobody wanted it. Too old. He bought it for $1,800, spent $900 on repairs. Offered combining services at $20 per acre. Combined 900 acres. Revenue, $18,000. Expenses, $4,000 in fuel and maintenance. Profit, $14,000. By end of 1983 harvest, Michael's first year, total revenue, $68,000. Total expenses, $14,000. Net profit, $54,000. He'd started with $12,000 in March, ended the year with $66,000. And he'd helped 23 small farmers who couldn't afford big operators. The community noticed. This kid with the rejected Farmall and other old equipment was thriving while established farmers were struggling. In 1984, Michael expanded, bought more old equipment at auctions, fixed everything himself, hired 2 part-time workers. Revenue hit $112,000. Profit, $78,000. Farmers who'd mocked him in '83 now asked for his services. Can you disc my ground, plant my beans, combine my corn? Michael never turned anyone away, kept prices affordable, worked 100-hour weeks during planting and harvest, built reputation for reliability. By 85, he had 6 pieces of equipment, all bought cheap at auctions, all old, all rejected by others, all fixed by Michael, all running perfectly. The 1948 Farmall that started it all, still his primary tractor, 42,000 hours on it by 85. Still ran perfectly, never a major breakdown, just routine maintenance. In 86, something remarkable happened. Banks started foreclosing on farms across Iowa. The crisis that started in 83 reached its peak. Farmers were losing everything. But Michael's 23 original customers, all still farming. Why? Because Michael's affordable custom services kept their operating costs low enough to survive. A farmer named James Peterson told the local paper, "I would have lost my farm in 84 if Mike hadn't planted my crops for a third of what big operators charge. He saved me $3,000 that year. That $3,000 was the difference between making it and going under." Others echoed it. Michael's services weren't just convenient. They were survival tools for small farmers during the crisis. By 88, Michael owned 16 pieces of equipment, employed 8 workers full-time, had 74 regular customers, revenue $320,000, net profit $140,000 annually. He bought 40 acres and built a proper shop, expanded services to include equipment repair for other farmers. In 90, age 30, Michael incorporated as Chen Agricultural Services, bought 80 more acres, built equipment storage, hired 12 employees. The 1948 Farmall, still running, still working. Michael used it for light field work and demonstrations. 78,000 hours on original engine, never rebuilt, just maintained. People came to see it. Is that really the tractor from the Patterson auction, the one everyone rejected? Michael would smile. That's the one, bought for $500. Everyone said I was a fool. This tractor launched my entire business. By 2000, Chen Agricultural Services was the largest custom farming operation in 3 counties. 42 employees, annual revenue $2.3 million, served 168 farms. Michael was worth approximately $4.8 million, all built starting with a $500 tractor, everyone rejected. In 2008, during the farm crisis anniversary, a reporter interviewed Michael. "You started with a rejected Farmall in 83. Now you run a multi-million-dollar operation. What's the secret?" Michael's answer: see opportunity where others see junk. That Farmall wasn't junk. It was a tool that could work if someone invested effort. Most people saw old and ugly. I saw functional and affordable. That perspective made all the difference. What about the tractor now? Still have it? Absolutely. It's in my shop. 123,000 hours, original engine, still runs. I fire it up once a month. That tractor is worth more to me than any piece of equipment I own. Not in dollars, in what it represents. Which is that everyone's wrong sometimes. Entire crowd of experienced farmers rejected that tractor, said it was junk, laughed at me for buying it. They were wrong. The tractor was solid. I was right. Sometimes the young fool who doesn't know better actually knows something the experts missed. In 2012, Michael retired at 52. Sold Chen Agricultural Services for $8.2 million, kept the Farmall. Donated it to the Iowa Farm Heritage Museum with a plaque. 1948 Farmall M, purchased at Patterson Estate Auction, March 12, 1983 for $500. Rejected by every farmer present. This tractor launched Chen Agricultural Services and helped 74 small farmers survive the farm crisis of the 1980s. Hours, 126,000. Original engine, never quit. The museum displayed it proudly. Visitors read the plaque. Many cried. Farmers who'd survived the 80s because of Michael's services brought their grandchildren. That tractor helped save our farm. At the museum dedication, Michael spoke. In March '83, I was a 23-year-old with no experience and big dreams. Everyone said I was crazy to start farming during a crisis. I bought this tractor for $500. Farmers laughed, called it junk, said I was a fool. 30 years later, that rejected tractor represents something important. It represents seeing value where others see waste. It represents believing in yourself when everyone doubts you. It represents the fact that old doesn't mean worthless and new doesn't mean better. This tractor worked perfectly for 30 years, helped me build a business, helped dozens of families keep their farms, and it's still running today. All because I looked past the rust and saw the potential. The farmers who rejected it weren't bad people. They just didn't see what I saw. They looked at surface. I looked at structure. They saw problems. I saw possibilities. That's the lesson. Don't judge by appearance. Don't let others' opinions override your assessment. Don't assume the crowd is always right. Sometimes the thing everyone rejects is exactly what you need. Standing ovation. 5 minutes. Everyone in that museum knew someone who'd been helped by Michael and that old Farmall. The rejected tractor that everyone mocked became a symbol of hope, of seeing differently, of young dreamers proving experts wrong, of old things having value, of crisis creating opportunity. Michael Chen bought a $500 Farmall nobody wanted, built an $8 million business, helped hundreds of farmers survive the worst crisis in 50 years, and that old tractor ran perfectly for 30 years doing it. The crowd was wrong. The young fool was right. The rejected tractor wasn't junk. It was treasure waiting for someone who could see it. That's what happens when you look past rust to see potential. When you trust yourself over the crowd, when you see opportunity where others see waste. The rejected old Farmall was bought by a young farmer. What happened next stunned everyone. He built an empire, saved dozens of farms, proved the crowd wrong. All because he saw value where everyone else saw junk. The restoration, 2 weeks that changed everything. Michael's 2-acre rental was barely enough space for living quarters and a workshop. One small shed, dirt floor, no electricity except extension cord from the house. Day 1 after the auction, Michael towed the Farmall home. Neighbors watched, shook their heads. Kid bought junk. Michael ignored them. Spent that evening measuring the tractor, taking notes, making lists. The Farmall was 78 inches wide, 132 inches long, 64 inches tall to steering wheel. Weight approximately 4,800 pounds. Day 2, complete assessment. Michael checked every system methodically. Engine, turned over by hand, good compression in all cylinders, no knocking. Oil dirty, but not contaminated. Verdict, mechanically sound. Transmission, shifted through all 5 gears smoothly, no grinding. Clutch, engaged properly. Verdict, functional. Hydraulics, system held pressure. Lift arms raised and lowered, slow but working. Verdict, needs fluid change and seal check but operational. Electrical, completely dead. Wiring rotted, battery terminals corroded, lights broken. Verdict, total rewire needed. Tires, 2 okay, 2 worn dangerous. Verdict, need 2 replacements minimum. Steering, loose but functional, probably worn bushings. Verdict, acceptable for now. Brakes, barely there. Pads worn almost to nothing. Verdict, needs immediate attention for safety. Total assessment, mechanically solid, cosmetically terrible, electrically dead, safely marginal, fixable with time and modest money. Day 3 through 5, disassembly. Michael drained all fluids, pulled spark plugs, removed air cleaner, disconnected battery cables, documented everything with photos using a borrowed camera. Drew diagrams, labeled parts in coffee cans. His landlord watched. You actually know what you're doing? Learning as I go. Got manuals from the library, following step by step. That's crazy. Probably, but it's my crazy. Days 6 through 9, cleaning and rebuilding. Michael scrubbed every accessible part, used kerosene and wire brushes, cleaned carburetor jets with tiny wires, gapped new spark plugs precisely, assembled new wiring harness from scratch following diagrams. His hands got cut, scraped, covered in grease and rust. Didn't matter. Every hour invested was money saved. Day 10, reassembly started. New battery installed, new wiring connected, fluids refilled. 56 grease fittings pumped full. Brake pads replaced with used ones from salvage yard for $28. Day 11, moment of truth. Michael turned the key. Engine cranked, caught, coughed, died. Adjusted carburetor, tried again, cranked, caught. Ran rough, smoothed out, purred. The Farmall was running, first time in probably 2 years. Engine sounded beautiful, no smoke, no knocking, just clean 4-cylinder rhythm. Michael's landlord came running. "I'll be damned, you actually got it running. Told you it wasn't junk." Day 12, testing. Michael drove the Farmall around his 2 acres, tested all gears, tested hydraulics, tested brakes, tested steering. Everything worked. Day 13 and 14, tires and seat. Michael mounted 2 used tires bought from salvage yard, cost $110 instead of $160. Compromised on quality but sufficient for his needs. Covered seat with surplus military canvas for $12 instead of buying proper cover for $18. Total actual cost, $392 instead of budgeted $438. Saved $46 through scrounging and compromising. End of day 14. The Farmall was ready, mechanically perfect, cosmetically ugly, total investment, $892 including purchase. Michael painted one thing, his phone number on the hood in white paint. Custom farming call 555-047. First potential customer called that number 3 days later. Widow Morris needed planting. Michael's business began. The customers, lives changed by old equipment. Over 7 years, Michael helped 74 different farmers with custom services. Each had a story. Here are 5 that mattered most. Customer 1. Helen Morris. Widow. 80 acres. 1983. Helen's husband died of heart attack February 82. She was 68. No farming knowledge. Rented land to neighbor for cash rent. Neighbor paid $1,200 annually. In 83, neighbor couldn't farm it, struggling with own land. Helen faced losing $1,200 income she needed for property taxes and living expenses. Big operators wanted $3,000 to plant 80 acres. Helen had $800 total savings, couldn't afford it. Michael charged $1,200. Helen used entire savings to pay him. "If this doesn't work, I'm selling the land." Michael planted perfectly. Corn came up excellent. Neighbor agreed to harvest it and pay Helen 1/3 of crop value. Corn yielded $140 per acre, 11,200 bushels. At $260 per bushel equals 29,120 gross. Neighbor kept 2/3, 19,413. Helen got 1/3, 9,707. After Michael's $1,200 planting fee, Helen netted $8,507, enough to pay property taxes and live on. Next year she hired Michael again, and every year through 1990. Michael kept her farming viable for 8 years, until she sold at 76. Helen told everyone, "That young man with the old tractor saved my home. Without him, I'd have sold at terrible price during the crisis and lost everything." Customer 2. Robert Williams, 240 acres. 3 generations. Crisis hitting hard. Robert inherited farm from father in 78, took on debt to expand, bought equipment. By 83, debt service was killing him. $38,000 annually. Couldn't afford to buy more equipment. His planter needed replacement. Cost $18,000 new, $12,000 used. Robert didn't have it. Couldn't get loan. Banks weren't lending. Michael planted Roberts's 240 for $3,600. Saved Robert $9,000 versus buying used planter. That 9,000 paid 3 months of debt service. Robert used Michael for 5 years, saved approximately 42,000 total versus owning equipment. That savings kept Robert afloat until 88, when crop prices recovered slightly. Robert paid off farm in 96. Told reporter, "I survived because Mike Chen kept my operating costs low enough to cover debt service during the worst years. Without him, bank would have foreclosed in 85. Customer 3, James and Carol Peterson, 400 acres, young family, drowning in debt. James was 31 in 83, borrowed heavily in late 70s, owed 192,000. With high interest rates, annual debt service was 41,000. His combine needed major repairs, estimated 7,000 to fix, or buy used for 22,000. James had neither. Michael combined James's 400 acres for 8,000. Saved James 14,000 versus buying used combine. But more importantly, Michael let James pay in installments over 6 months, 400 per month. That flexibility saved James from having to borrow money he couldn't get. James used Michael's services for 7 years, always paid eventually. Michael never pressured him. That trust relationship kept James's farm alive. James's daughter later told interviewer, "Dad almost lost our farm in 84. Mike let him pay slowly. No bank would do that. Mike's flexibility saved us." Customer 4, Sarah Thompson, single mother, inherited 160 acres from father. Sarah knew nothing about farming. Father died suddenly. She inherited land with no idea how to farm it. Was going to sell for whatever she could get. Michael approached her. "Let me farm it on shares. I do all work. We split crop 50-50. You risk nothing." Sarah agreed. Michael farmed her 160 for 4 years on shares. Sarah learned farming from watching, eventually took over herself with Michael teaching her. By 87, Sarah was farming independently, sent her son to ag college on farm income. Son came back and expanded operation to 480. Sarah's son told museum dedication crowd, "Mum would have sold our land in 83 for maybe 60,000 and moved to Des Moines. Mike showed her she could farm it, kept our family on the land. Our farm's now worth 720,000, all because Mike gave Mum confidence." Customer 5, Martinez Family Farms, 320 acres, immigrant family, language barriers. The Martinez family emigrated from Mexico in 76, worked as farm laborers, saved money, bought small farm in 81, 320 acres. Cultural and language barriers made it hard to work with local businesses. Big operators wouldn't work with them. Communication issues, prejudice. Michael didn't care about language or background. "You need planting, I can do it. We figure out price, we figure out payment, we make it work." Michael used hand gestures and drawings to communicate, learned basic Spanish, built trust, farmed for Martinez family 6 years. They learned equipment operation from watching Michael, eventually bought their own equipment and went independent. Martinez family now farms 1,200 acres. Their children are educated, integrated into community. They credit Michael. "He treated us with respect when others wouldn't, helped us succeed when others wanted us to fail. We remember," the father told interviewer. The competition, big operators notice. By 85, Michael's success was affecting other businesses. Big custom farming operations saw revenue dropping. Small farmers were hiring Michael instead. Henderson Agricultural Services was largest custom operator in 3 counties. Revenue dropped 22% from 83 to 85. Owner blamed Michael. "This kid with junk equipment is undercutting us, charging half what we charge, taking our customers." Henderson tried to run Michael out, spread rumors. "His equipment's dangerous, not insured properly. You hire him, you're taking big risks." Michael responded by getting proper insurance, cost him $4,800 annually, but eliminated that criticism. Henderson tried another approach. dropped prices to match Michael's. But Henderson had newer equipment with higher operating costs. Matching Michael's prices meant losing money. After 8 months, Henderson gave up on price matching, went back to premium pricing, lost customers to Michael permanently. Other operators tried different strategies. Some focused on large operations Michael couldn't handle efficiently. Some emphasized speed and scale. Some went bankrupt. By 88, 3 of 5 competing custom operations had closed. Michael wasn't trying to destroy them. He was just serving a market they'd ignored, small farmers who needed affordable services. The operators who survived did so by finding their niche. Henderson focused on large farms needing rapid service. That worked, but the small farm market belonged to Michael. In 92, Henderson's owner retired, sold to corporate operator. At retirement party admitted, "That kid proved me wrong. I said his approach wouldn't work. It worked better than mine. He saw a market I missed." That's business. The equipment. Building a fleet from junk. The Farmall was just the beginning. Over 10 years, Michael built a fleet of 23 pieces of equipment. None bought new, all bought at auctions where nobody else wanted them. 1966 John Deere combine, bought for $1,800 in 83. Everyone said too old. Michael rebuilt engine for $900, ran perfectly until 98. 15 years, combined over 30,000 acres. 1959 International Disc, bought for $280. Farmers laughed. "That thing's older than most tractors here." Michael replaced all bearings for $120, used it 12 years. 1963, Ford tractor, bought for $650, missing hydraulic pump. Everyone said parts unavailable. Michael found used pump at salvage yard for $85. Fixed it. Sold it 4 years later for $2,000, profit of $1,365. Every piece followed same pattern. Buy cheap because it's old or broken. Fix it yourself. Use it until it actually dies. Sell or scrap when done. Michael's equipment investment through 1990. $43,000 total spent. Market value if bought new, over $400,000. Savings, $357,000. That capital efficiency was Michael's competitive advantage. His equipment cost almost nothing compared to competitors, allowed low prices while maintaining profit margins. Critics said, "Old equipment breaks more, costs you in downtime." Michael's response, "I maintain it properly. It doesn't break. And when it does, I fix it myself. Cost is minimal." His maintenance philosophy: grease every fitting every 50 hours, change fluids on schedule, check everything daily. Old equipment runs forever if you maintain it. New equipment breaks if you neglect it. He was right. The 48 Farmall that started everything ran 126,000 hours. Original engine, no rebuild, just maintenance. The museum, preserving the legacy. When Michael donated the Farmall to Iowa Farm Heritage Museum in 2012, it was more than giving away a tractor. It was preserving a lesson. Museum curator initially hesitated. "We have several Farmall M tractors already. What makes this special?" Michael explained the story. Rejected at auction, built a business, helped dozens of families survive the crisis, ran over 100,000 hours without engine rebuild. Curator understood. "This isn't just a tractor, it's a symbol. We'll feature it prominently." They placed it in the main hall, polished but not restored, kept the original faded paint, kept the surface rust, kept the dents, left Michael's phone number painted on the hood. The plaque told the story. Visitors read it and cried. Farmers brought grandchildren. That tractor helped keep food on our table during hard times. School groups toured the museum. Teachers used the Farmall as a lesson. Everyone thought it was junk. One young man saw value. That perspective changed his life and helped dozens of families. After 5 years, the museum reported the Farmall was their most photographed exhibit, more popular than much rarer tractors. Why? The story. People connected with it. The idea that something everyone rejects might actually be valuable, that young dreamers can be right when experts are wrong. That old doesn't mean worthless. The curator told reporter, "We have tractors worth more money, rarer models, better condition, but none match the Farmall's impact. It represents hope, second chances, seeing differently. That resonates with people." In 2020, museums started annual Farmall Day, celebration of the tractor and the lesson it taught. Michael spoke every year. His message never changed. Don't let others decide what's valuable. Trust your own assessment. See past surface to structure. Old isn't worthless. New isn't always better. And sometimes the thing everyone rejects is exactly what you need. Thousands attended annually. Many were farmers Michael had helped. Others were young people inspired by the story. All learned the same lesson. See opportunity where others see junk. The rejected Farmall wasn't junk. It was treasure. All it needed was someone who could see it. That's Michael Chen's legacy. Not the business he built, not the money he made, the lesson he taught. Look differently, see clearly, trust yourself, value substance over appearance. Reject the crowd's judgment when you know better. The rejected old Farmall was bought by a young farmer. What happened next stunned everyone. He built an empire on that $500 tractor, proved the crowd wrong, helped hundreds of families, changed a community, all because he saw value where everyone else saw junk. That's what happens when you look past rust to see potential.